In this video, I'll be talking about how to overcome abandonment of your lawful permanent residency status in the US. Hello, my name is Bijoux Ngwanda. I am an immigration lawyer in the DC metropolitan area, and I do work with individuals around the US and around the world because we deal with immigration laws, which is a broad subject, okay? If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you are not new, welcome back. And please don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. In today's video, remember last time I said that I was going to continue with those asylum series. We're going to take a break from today's video because there is a subject that came across my mind, and this subject came across our office. So basically, we have received a lot of inquiries as far as abandonment of lawful permanent residency is concerned, and I thought that it would be nice for me to address this subject so that you might avoid a denial, or say that you were outside of the US and you want to come back, you stay longer. You want to avoid the denial and what step you need to take prior to leaving the US when you still have your lawful permanent residency status, okay? So just stay tuned until the end, and you will get a lot of valuable information, okay? First thing first, what you need to do is keep a valid entry document. Okay, what is it? The green card is a valid entry document if you stay outside the United States for less than 1 year. It will be considered valid. When at the time of re-entry, it's going to be considered valid. But say that you are going outside the United States because you have a contract, work contract that requires you to stay outside of the United States for 2 years, for instance. What do you have to do? You have to apply for a reentry. You have to apply for a reentry permit. So that's document. We use the form I-131. So basically what it's gonna do, it's gonna help you maintain your lawful permanent residency status while you're still outside the United States. And once you fill out the form, it's going to get approved by the USCIS, and then you can go, because you know that even if you come 2 years basically after the date of departure, you are still gonna be able to get into the United States, because a lot of people don't do that, and when they come back, it's a problem, and now they have to justify. Sometimes they get denial at the airport, which is something that you could have avoided if you knew those rules. So we're available for that. Please call our office 202-946-2922 if you have questions, so that we can help you apply for form I-31. And sometimes another thing is you have to be able to keep your absence from the US temporary. What is temporary for? It's defined that maybe you went there for a education or training. You went there for work, employment with a US company, or maybe you were going there because your spouse has been employed by the US company outside the US, so you had to go there because it's a family, so you have to go with your spouse, and so it's considered temporary, okay? And then maybe you went to liquidate your foreign assets. Say you have been living in the US for a longer period of time, and you had, let's say you had things, properties outside of the US, and now you want to go there and liquidate, like sell those property, have a will, and get your affairs into order. So it might take you a lot of time. So you want to go out there for that specific reason, which is considered temporary reason. But remember, you still have to apply for the reentry permit using the form I-31, because you don't know how long you're going to stay there, but that permit at least allow you the 2 years period so that you can still maintain a valid lawful permanent residency status when you finish doing what you were doing outside of the US and you come back, okay? So you can still apply for, if you were not able to apply for form I-131 prior to departure, you can still apply for form SB1, returning resident visa. So you have to apply that for that. In order to be qualified for the returning resident visa, you have to have a status of a alien, which is a lawful admitted, like you had a green card and you departed from the US with the intention of returning. Intent, remember, intent is important. You went there for a specific reason that we already listed those reasons, which is let's say education, training, employment for you with a US company outside of the US, and then maybe you were going with your spouse, accompanying your spouse outside the US because your spouse got a job outside the US, or you went there to liquidate your assets. Say you had properties and you went there to liquidate those assets. So that's one of the reason of your departure. You went there for a specific reason with the intent to return, okay? And then you are returning in the United States from a temporary visit abroad. And your stay abroad was maybe longer than expected for the following reason we just stated. So you'll be eligible to apply for SB1 returning visa. And there is another way too, which is the form I-193 for application waiver. That too can be considered as far as just being able to keep your lawful permanent residency status, okay? That's actually what you do prior to departure, or in the midst of departure, or say you were already there and then something happened that will keep you longer than a year. So those are the steps you have to take in the midst of all that. But say that you didn't take any of those steps, okay? Because a lot of people really, when they leave, they don't know those things. They just think that, okay, because I'm a US resident, I have a lawful permanent residency status, I can just go as I choose, come back as I please. It doesn't work like that. So it's the reason they give you that, it's because you want to be permanent. That's why it's called a permanent residency status, because you want to be permanent in the US, working here, paying taxes here, which is like you are contributing to the society, economic of the society. But you can't just be going and coming back as you please if you only have a lawful permanent residency. So that's why you take those steps prior to leaving, okay? Say you didn't do all that. So what is going to happen now that you went abroad and come back after maybe 2 years or 3 years, and perhaps you got lucky at the airport, you got entry, but now you want to renew your green card. Let's say your green card has expired and now you want to renew it, you get a denial or a notice of intent to deny. So what are you going to do? That's when it becomes challenging. Really, if you are in that position, please call our office 202-946-2922 so that we can be able to assist you, because it becomes really challenging. What you have to do now is to show, basically the assumption is what? When a lawful permanent resident has been abroad continuously for more than 1 year, the presumption is that abandonment has occurred, okay? It's just, the presumption is there. It's like you have abandoned. How come you've been outside of the US for longer than a year? So now you're back. What can you do? You have to be able to show ties in the US and the intent to return. So basically, you have to prove two elements: ties, intent to return. And how are they going to elaborate on that? That doesn't depend on you, but you have to show evidence, because on the other side, they have a higher standard to prove that you abandoned, because they have to prove by clear and convincing evidence that you in fact did abandon your status. But on your side, you only prove ties and intent. So ties with the US can be shown by, say you have family member here, living here. You left them and you went, so you can show that you still have ties because your family are still here. You just went for a specific purpose, and now you're coming back, and you didn't know that you had to apply for reentry permit, stuff like that. So that's another way to show ties. You can show ties in the community too. Let's say you were involved in some type of organizations. Okay, those organizations, you have to have paperwork for those organizations. Say you were contributing to those organizations, but you stopped, or you didn't stop, you were still contributing online, but you were outside of the US. We can still show ties to the US. Okay, intent to return. When you come back, are you working? Employment history is very important, because that is going to establish that you have a strong employment history here. When you return, you're working, you're paying taxes, so you have to have work. You have to be working and paying taxes and have those pay stubs, so we can show to the immigration officer and say, look, this guy may have be gone, like he left, but now that he came back, this is what he's doing. He had the intent to return because, first of all, he kept his house in the US. Second of all, his family is still here in the US. And third of all, he's working and paying taxes. So he clearly has intent to stay, and he had intent to return. So those are the elements that we need to show. But to be really concise, what I can say about the subject: if you have your lawful permanent residency status, okay, which we call LPR, lawful permanent, and they call you a lawful permanent resident in the US, don't be just going abroad as you please and coming back as you choose, because the laws are not in your favor, because you don't have the citizenship. You are a permanent resident, so you have to permanently stay here. That's the reason you got that green card. So if you have a specific reason, among the reasons that we listed in this video, then you have to apply for reentry permit. There are a lot of forms that you have to, a lot of type of visa, a lot of forms, waivers available for those specific type of traveling, so that you can go and rest assured that you're still keeping your residency here, and you don't want to be confronted with those type of denial or intent or notice of intent to deny, because you were really outside of the US for a longer period. Okay, so if you're really confused and you want to travel and you don't have your US citizenship yet, you only have your lawful permanent residency status, and you only have your green card, and you want to go outside of the US for a period of longer than a year, even if it's lesser than a year, you don't know what might happen when you're outside of the US. It's very important that you take precaution, and if you want to take precaution, please call our office 202-946-2922, so we can direct you on what form to use or what type of reentry permit to apply for, so that you can secure your lawful permanent residency status. Okay, again, my name is Bijoux Ngwanda. I am the immigration lawyer in the DC metropolitan area. So please subscribe, share, like, and I'll see you to the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.